A mass phenomenon of visible shapes. Mass phenomenon, because he wants to become many. Two. Bhusyam, many. So kamayat, I want to be many. Bhusyam. Mass phenomenon of visible shapes, supported by the silence to the void. Now is the void is supporting the shapes. It is out of this void that the shapes have started appearing because spirit has become matter in it, you see. Appeared in the eternal consciousness and seemed an outward and insensible world. Insensible because it is matter only. There is no soul there, there is no sense there. Therefore, it is insensible world, you see. These visible shapes, they have no sense, no sensitivity at all. In other words, they have become material objects. Matter may have its own sensibility, but then it is practically absent. It is not there at all, you see. I mean, a stone is really insensitive. But we don't know. If you enter into the spirit of the stone, you may find it very active, very powerful, very dynamic, very pushing in its own way, you see. If you identify yourself with matter, an electron, the chariot of Shiva, you see, electron, matter, and he is driving the chariot of Shiva. Shiva is driving the chariot of matter, you see. A mass phenomenon of visible shape, supported by the silence to the void, appeared in the eternal consciousness and seemed an outward and insensible world. Seemed that eternal consciousness appearing in the void is insensible. There was none there to see and none to feel. Well, in matter it is like that. You go to any place other than the earth, moon or wherever other planet or what is there are objects there, there are physical things there, but there is none to feel, there is none to see there. They are just there. Moon is there, moon rocks are there in their own way all the while. Only the miraculous inconscient, a subtle wizard skill was at its task. It's inconscient. Inconscient itself is working out, you see. Inventing ways for magical results. Now it is this miraculous inconscience, a wizard, skillman. It is he who is at work. He is inventing what? Ways for magical. Why magical again? Because there is nothing there. There is nothing to feel there. Nothing to grasp, nothing to see there at all, you see. Inventing ways for magical rhythm, managing creation's marvelous device, managing creation's marvelous device. He, that it, inconscience, managing creation's marvelous device, marking mechanically dumb wisdom's points, using the unthought inevitable idea, Now that inconscience has a capacity to use the idea, because it is the inconscience of the Supreme Himself, or the Supreme Himself. Unthought. It had never thought of it, that it could be so. Therefore it is unthought. Inevitable, that it must happen. That out of this material creation, something should appear. That is an unthought idea. And there is a kind of inevitability of that idea materializing or getting realized. There is an inevitability of that idea getting realized, because that power of inconscience is working from within like that, you see. Marking mechanically dumb wisdom's point, using the unthought inevitable idea, it did the worst of God's intelligence. It, again, that inconscience. That miraculous inconscience. That is why it's miraculous. It did the works of God's intelligence, or wrought the will of some supreme unknown. God's intelligence, who is in operation here, or wrought the will of some supreme unknown, which is not, God may be knowable, but there is somebody again beyond God who is not known. Supreme unknown, unknowable. He may be working because that supreme unknowable itself, you see, that inconscience, you see. In other words, there is that potency already present in the inconscience. It is an inconscience of the Supreme Himself. Therefore, it has the potency of the Supreme Himself in it. And it is that potency which is opening out, which is coming out, manifesting itself. It did the works of God's intelligence, or wrought the will of supreme unknown. Still, consciousness was hidden in nature's womb. One who is working here, she is the nature. Still, consciousness was hidden in nature's womb. Unfelt was the bliss whose rapture dreamed the world. Now, who dreamed the worlds? Who dreamed the world after world? It is the bliss. It is the bliss. He is the creator of this world. It is the bliss who is the creator of this world. It is unfelt because we don't have that sensitivity. We don't have that feeling. We don't have that perception at all. Therefore, it is unfelt for us. But it is the bliss who is the dreamer and creator of the worlds. It is the bliss who is the dreamer and creator. And it is still unconscious, hidden in nature's own. That consciousness is present there. That's why in consciousness. Being was an inert substance driven by force. Being, Sat, has become inert. Matter. Being has become matter. Existence has become matter. Being was an inert substance driven by force. Substance. Being was an inert substance. Being, Trochee, was an very inert. I am substance, Trochee, driven, Trochee, by force, I am. Now, being was an inner substance. This stress is on sub, it is not substance, it is substance. Means something is standing on it. Matter is support, is the base. Substance, it gives you support to stand upon something on that, you see. So, the inert matter is being driven by some force, the consciousness force here, you see. Now, being here stands for the Sat or existence, force stands for consciousness. It is the consciousness which is driving. And being is the support. It is on, see, being is the support, is the matter is the support on which the entire thing is built up. The spirit has become matter. In order that on that basis things may build up, may rise, a structure may get founded, you see. Being was an inert substance driven by force. At first, now he has already created the material base for all this thing to happen. Material base is being has become the substance and the consciousness force is working. The consciousness force is working, you see, from the lower point. At first, so in the beginning what happened? What that force is doing with being in the support, what that force is doing, that is what now is being going to describe here. So first he has told you that there is a kind of an involution, there is a kind of a void, there is the substance and there is the force acting, means being and consciousness are there and they are working out that thing. So what are they doing? Being and consciousness force. What are they doing? Now the entire description starts with this one, you see. From this point onward till all the 44 sentences, from sentence 8 to sentence 44, the entire description of first was, now what did they do? What did that force do? at first was only an etheric space. Akasha created the element Akasha, etheric space. Its huge vibration circles round and round, housing some unconceived initiative, housing some unconceived initiative. Vibration circled round and round, contraction and expansion. That is the role of Vayu. So first thing is Akasha, etheric space, then comes Vayu. Its huge vibrations circle round and round, up and down, and the worlds are formed there in etheric space. Space means substance has become ether now. So actually this is what we call the Pancha Mahabhuta, the five basic elements. They are coming into play here from this point onward. The being and the consciousness force, they are giving rise to these five elements, or what we would call the Sankhya process of materialization has begun with this thing. Sankhya starts with the Pancha Mahabhutas, five elements, Prithvi, Apti, Vayu, Akash, all these five elements are there. Earth, water, fire, air, sky or ether. These are the five elements. The Indian spiritual philosophy knew these five elements. The Greek philosophy knew only four. They were not aware of the ether at all. They were not aware of the ether at all, you see. They knew the four, you see. And then they had given certain geometrical formations to each of these things. What is Vayu, what is Akash, so many polygons, so many like that. Aristotle had given a full description of all these four elements. And because they were not knowing the fifth one, they simply called it quintessence. Fifth essence. Fifth essence. Quintessence. So the ether is the quintessence of that thing, you see. At first was only an etheric space, that is the quintessence, fifth etheric, you see. Its huge vibrations circle round and round, housing some unconceived initiative, upheld by a supreme original breath. Who is holding on that? Supreme original breath, Vayu, Prana. It is he who is holding that breath. Expansion and contraction, mystic act, expansion and contraction. In fact, there is a whole description of this thing in Life Divine, of these five elements in the Life Divine. And we have also seen that we have got exactly the same description when Narad is coming down from his spiritual house to the earth. He is undergoing the process of materialization, and he is passing through etheric sea and air and fire and water, and then he becomes solid matter. So we have got a complete description at the beginning of the book of Fate itself, you see. Two long sentences, they describe complete process of materialization. Here it is the same thing in a way described here. Its huge vibrations circled round and round, housing some unconceived initiative, unconceived, which was never thought of. It has been brought into action by this force. When being became the support, then it is this consciousness force, it is that started operating and brought out these elements. Here, at this point, he is describing only these three elements. First is, of course, etheric space, then original breath, the prana, and the third is expansion and contraction, mystic, and created touch and friction in the void into abstract emptiness, brought clash and crown, parent for expanding universe, in a matrix of disintegrating force, by spending it conserved an endless sound. So this is the description of breath. It is creating touch and friction, joining. See, ether is only a kind of a essence. There is no vibration, there is no movement, there is no space, support. created touch and friction in the void. Into abstract emptiness brought clash and clash. The contraction and expansion, they come together and separate. Come together. And it is that process of coming together, clash and clash, which is the parent of an expanding universe. Expanding universe, not the universe of the astronomers. Expanding is the process of the entire creation, starting from matter into life, into mind, into many, many other things. So the expanding universe here is the psycho-spiritual expansion of the consciousness itself, you see. Consciousness itself, you see. Expanding. So expanding universe is a technical term used in astronomy, that our universe is an expanding universe. Well, we don't know really where it is expanding at all, because although today it may appear expanding, but is the expansion endless? Is it endless? That science cannot answer that question. They say that it may even withdraw. It may even withdraw also, you see. There could be a contraction. So expansion and contraction. Now it is expanding, it may even start withdrawing also, gathering, and become a point, and again burst and expand. So that cycle may go on like that, you see. And to abstract emptiness brought clash and an errand after a parent of an expanding universe in a matrix of disintegrating force because of clash and clasp. They come together, means there is no kind of a binding force to hold them together. What could be binding force? Why there is clash and clasp? Because that binding force which is there, glowing force which can hold them together constantly, is absent. What is that glowing force? That binding thing is love, the power of love. To put things together always. When that is absent, love not in the material sense of what we call, love is a divine quality of holding the entire thing together in the joy, in the bliss, in the creation, you see, love. In fact, that is what Plato described about the love is the power by which the creation is sustained. And he heard that thing, Plato says, he heard the thing from somebody who existed long before that era, Atlantis, from the age of Atlantis, which was a very powerful age at the time. It is there they had discovered the power of love, which gives rise to creation. And it is that power of love which gives rise to creation, which holds things together. But the Atlantic got dissolved, got lost in the ocean. Got lost in the ocean, not in the physical sense, but in the occult sense, that its occultism became so heavy, so ponderous, that it could not bear its own weight. The occultism had become so powerful that it could not bear its own weight, and therefore it collapsed. In other words, there has to be some sort of a divine support to hold the occultism. There has to be some sort of a spiritual base to hold occultism. Otherwise, if you follow only the path of occultism, by its own weight, it is going to collapse and disappear. That is what happened in the case of Atlantis. Yeah.
This information is coming from Sri Aurobindo or from where?
Plato had described that thing.
About the Atlantis.
In synopsis. In his
yeah. Oh, okay.
In one of his dialogues,
to see if there is a new.
You know it already.
No, I don't know.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I
It's a very powerful.
It's
a very powerful description there. It's one of the most occult descriptions in Greek philosophy. And he resorts, I heard it from some lady who stayed in Atlantis, and she told this man, that man, then it came down to me. He does not tell directly. He kind of throws the burden of proof or whatever it is to her, you see. You may accept, you may not accept, that is what it means, you see. In a matrix of disintegrating force, disintegrating, as I said, because the power of love is not active yet. It is a material creation. By spending, it comes out an endless sum. That is how it perpetuates itself. And now this is the two elements he has described, etheric space, then he has described the breath, contraction, expansion or air. Now he is coming to the third one,